Hello and warm regards from NEXT IAS team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. Today is 22nd September and let's see the topics that we are going to cover today. The first topic is the Sawalkote Dam. The Sawalkote Dam is being built on Chenab River and it is in the context that India has now suspended the Indus Water Treaty and now India is going to utilize the waters of Indus, Jhelum and the Chenab River. The second topic is about the Smog-Eating Technology. Now Delhi, as we know, faces the problem of pollution. That's why Delhi government is now going to come up with new technologies that are going to counter the pollution levels and they are going to help in reducing the pollution levels in the Delhi. The third topic is the supercomputers. We are going to study what supercomputers, how do they work and what are the India's important supercomputers. The next topic is low inflation. Inflation, as we know, we require a low inflation, but consistent low inflation can have negative impacts also. So we are going to study about what are the negative impacts of low inflation. And last topic is the uranium mining that government is proposing in Meghalaya. There are protests going on from the Khasi tribe. So this topic we are going to see in the context of the mining issues in India. Now let's start with the first topic, that is Sawalkote Dam. The first topic we are having is Sawalkote Dam. The Sawalkote Dam is in news because we are building the Sawalkote Dam on Chenab River. Chenab River, as we know, is part of the Indus Water River system. Now this Indus River water system comprises of 6 rivers. First is Indus, second one is Jhelum, third one is Chenab, then fourth one is Ravi, then we have the Beas and lastly we have Satluj. So it is C, J, I and R, B, S. This is the sequence of these rivers. Now second thing is that these 2 rivers flow between India and Pakistan. So that's why the water has to be divided between India and Pakistan. दोनों के बीच में divide करना होगा. How we are going to divide that? So in this case, the World Bank in 1960 helped both the countries to divide the water among themselves. And in this context, the Indus Water Treaty was formed. This was agreed upon by India and Pakistan with the help of World Bank. Now this Indus Water Treaty divided the waters among India and Pakistan. It said that the waters of Indus, Chenab and Jhelum will go to Pakistan and the waters of Ravi, Beas and Satluj will go to India. India will be having absolute control over the waters of Ravi, Beas and Satluj. Wherever the waters of Indus, Jhelum and Chenab will go to Pakistan and India will not have control over these waters. Secondly, India can although build run of river project over these 3 rivers. उसके लिए they have to take the permission of Pakistan. So India first of all does not have control over the waters of Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. Secondly, if India wants to build any kind of project that is a run of water, India cannot divert the water. India can only generate electricity. It can just generate electricity from the natural flow of the water. So उसके लिए भी पाकिस्तान का approval चाहिए होगा. And Pakistan did not allow this Sawalkote Dam. So that is the main challenge here. This particular project came up in 1984. तो उतना पुराना है ये, 40 years old है ये project. So what is the news here? The news is very simple. That Sawalkote Dam project is now being revived by the country and it will be built upon Chenab River in Jammu and Kashmir and the total capacity is 1865 megawatts. Ministry of Home Affairs has said that to realize the potential of the Chenab River, we need to swiftly construct this particular dam. Now, what are the other things related to this project? First of all is the Expert Appraisal Committee and second is the Forest Advisory Committee. Now there will be a new meeting of for the environmental clearance. We are waiting for that. Once the environmental clearance is given, then we can go ahead with the project. Another issue is the cumulative impact assessment and the carrying capacity studies. These 2 studies have also been taken to approve the project. Now, the Forest Advisory Committee says, because these 2 things are taken by the Forest Advisory Committee. The Forest Advisory Committee says that this project, the Sawalkote Dam project, was initiated in 1984. And उस time पे ये दोनों requirements नहीं होती थी. At the time of 1984, the requirement of CIA or cumulative impact assessment and CSS or carrying capacity studies was not there. These requirements were brought in 2013. So if the requirement was not there at the time of initiations, that's why we are not going to go for these 2 studies. Secondly, the CIA, the cumulative impact assessment and the carrying capacity studies are both prospective, not retrospective. What do you mean by prospective? Prospective का मतलब है कि आगे देखने वाला, to look forward. So whatever project comes after 2013, those projects will be subjected to these two studies. The projects which are before the coming of the CIA and CSS, those projects will not be taken under the CIA and CSS studies. So ये project, particular project, एक तो पुराना है इन दोनों norms से, और दूसरा ये दोनों norms भी जो हैं ये आगे के projects के लिए, पुराने projects के लिए नहीं है. That's why these two are not applicable upon this particular project. The next thing is that if the environmental and procedural aspects को देखा जाए तो what do we need? First of all, the forest clearance should be secured within 18 months. Secondly, the data should not be more than 3 years old. Now, what is the status of this project? अभी अगर हम देखें तो the clearance for Sawalkote Dam was recommended in January 2017 itself. However, forest clearance was not secured, and public hearing was held in January 2016. Now, NHPC has done this thing that it has collected the recent data of 2022-23 for each cycle. January, that is the winter cycle, the monsoon cycle and the summer cycle. Now, next is the this particular project. This particular project, the total capacity is 1865 megawatt. There are two basic stages. One is 1400 and second one is 450 megawatts. It is a concrete gravity dam and will be having a reservoir also. There will be a lot of ecological effect also. For example, the tree felling will be around 2,22,000 trees will be felled under this project. Now, the point that we need to focus upon is that on Chenab River, there are multiple hydroelectricity projects. The important ones are, one is Dulhasti, that is in Kishtwar district. Second is Bagaliyar project, that is Ramban. And third one is Salal project, that is in Raisi. This fourth Sawalkote project is also being built in Raisi itself. So in Raisi, we are going to have back-to-back projects. One is the Salal project, another one will be the Sawalkote project. So this was about this Sawalkote Hydel project. Now you have to attempt this particular question and you have to answer in the comment box. And let's move to the second topic. The second topic is smog-eating technology. Now what is the context here? The context is very simple. Our urban cities are polluted on every terms, whether it be air, whether it be water, whether it be land. Now this particular smog-eating technology, in which context we are talking about? We are talking about in the context of air pollution. And this particular initiative is being taken by the Delhi government. So the relevance here is that the Delhi government is muting the use of smog-eating coatings on the road and fighting pollution in the union territory. The relevance is, as we know, GS paper 3, conservation, environment pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment. Now let's see the news. The news is that the government is muting that it is going to coat the pavements, the roads with titanium dioxide. This titanium dioxide has a property that it can catalyze the conversion of nitrous dioxide and other harmful hydrocarbons into less harmful or non-harmful substances. So that's why we are going to go for this particular project. Now Delhi government is now initiating this project. That means the feasibility studies will be done, the reports will be taken up, and the Delhi government is going to collaborate with a technology institution like IIT Delhi or any other technology institution. Now the field trials will be done, and this particular project is under the initiative that is 24/7 365 days strategic environment action plan of Delhi government. Now let's see what the focus of the study will be. The focus will be that first of all, this particular coating should be cost effective. It should be safe. ऐसा ना हो कि इसके अपने harmful effects हो जाएं. There should be long term sustainability. It should not be like कि हर साल हम उसको कर रहे हैं. अगर हमने एक बार कर दिया है तो it should stay for some time. Then credible supplier भी हमें देखने होंगे who can supply these things. Now, if we see what are the air pollutants that we identify. So the standard air pollutants in the air quality index include particulate matter 2.5, particulate matter 10. Then we have ground level ozone. One ozone is at the level of stratosphere. Another one is at the level of the ground. The ground level ozone is very, very harmful. However, the stratospheric ozone is useful for us. I hope you know what is stratosphere and what is stratospheric ozone. जो ओजोन लेयर हम देखते हैं अपने एटमॉस्फेयर में, दैट इज द स्ट्रेटोस्फेरिक ओजोन. हाँ, इफ दैट ओजोन इज प्रेजेंट एट द ग्राउंड लेवल, देन इट इज वेरी वेरी हार्मफुल फॉर द लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स, बिकॉज वो बहुत ज्यादा रिएक्टिव होती है. देन वी हैव नाइट्रस डाइऑक्साइड, sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. So these are the pollutants that are identified under the air quality index. Now, air quality index के अंदर भी there are various scales. For example, if the air quality is between 0 to 50, then it is good. That is minimal impact is on the health. तो यही एक हमारा desired level है जो हमें चाहिए. Second is 51 to 100, that is satisfactory. There will be minor breathing discomfort to the sensitive people. Then third is 100 to 200, it is the moderate level. That means now the air quality is declining. So breathing discomfort will be there with the lungs, asthma and heart diseases. Then 201 to 300, it is the poor quality. So breathing discomfort of the most people on prolonged exposure. Then 301 to 400, it is very poor. Respiratory illness on the prolonged exposure. And lastly, 401 to 500, it is severe. It affects the healthy people and seriously impacts those with existing diseases. So this particular color coding you should know, and this is under the air quality index of India. Now next thing is that जो टाइटेनियम डाइऑक्साइड हम यूज करने वाले हैं for the catalytic conversion, has it been used anywhere else or not? Yes, it has been used. For example, Japan has implemented it, and Japan ने इसको यूज किया था for this self cleaning purposes, and pavements वगैरह पे भी इसको they have used it. They are using this titanium dioxide since 1990s, and there has been positive results out of by using this titanium dioxide. Then Italy has used in the Milan district, Milan city में they have used it. Then Netherlands has also used it. USA, China both have. China has used in the case of Beijing, and during the Beijing Olympics of 2008, China have used this titanium dioxide to keep the air clean. Now let's see what is this titanium dioxide and how does it help in cleaning the air. First of all, the titanium dioxide, what is it? It is a naturally occurring dioxide of the titanium. It is whitish in color and is very very cheap. So it is low cost material, widely available, and is white powdery substances. The another important thing about this titanium dioxide is that it is non-toxic in nature. It is stable, that means it can stay for longer time, and has strong photocatalytic properties. What are these photocatalytic properties? The word is catalyst. First word is catalyst. What is a catalyst? Catalysts are those substances which actually enable the substances to react. वो reactions को enable करते हैं, खुद consume नहीं होते. So these are those subjects without being consumed, they enable or they fasten a chemical reaction. What is this word photocatalyst here means? The word photocatalyst means that in the presence of light, these catalysts become active, and when light is not there, these catalysts are non-active. So the meaning of this photocatalyst means that when light is there, the titanium dioxide will act as a catalyst and will help in the chemical reaction which converts nitrous dioxide and other harmful chemicals into less harmful or least harmful chemicals. So this titanium dioxide is used in multiple things. For example, in pigments in the coatings, paints में use होता है. It is used in plastics. It is used in paper, and it is bright and for opaque. That's why it is being used. Then it is also major in the ingredients of the white paint. Next is cosmetics and personal care. It is present in sunscreens and has the ultraviolet blocking properties. The next is it is used in toothpaste, creams, powder also. Food industry में हम इसको use करते हैं, dairy products में इसको use किया जाता है, bakery products में it is being used, candies में it is being used. Then construction material, that it is tile, cement, glass, in all these things, this titanium dioxide is being used. So that's why this titanium dioxide can be easily implemented in Delhi because it is of low cost. पहले से we are using it. It does not have any harmful effect. It is safe and it is also long lasting. The next is titanium dioxide as air pollution control. It has a photocatalytic action. I have already told you, in the presence of light, the titanium dioxide actually acts as photocatalyst, and it helps in breaking down of harmful chemicals like nitrogen oxides, the volatile organic compounds and hydrocarbons. तो इन चीजों को ब्रेक डाउन करने में टाइटेनियम डाइऑक्साइड हेल्प करता है इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ लाइट. So that's why it is a photocatalyst. It converts the pollutants into harmless byproducts. Next is what are the challenges and consideration that we are going to see in the study. Why we are studying it? So that we can analyze what challenges we may face. The first challenge will be effectiveness. How much effective it is, because effectiveness depends upon the sun's intensity. Second, coating durability and the surface area. Second thing is the large scale deployment should be there, because deploying in a smaller scale is not going to work. So it has to be deployed in whole of the Delhi. Third is long term health and environment safety concerns are also there. They have also to be studied. कि अगर long term में इसको देखें, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि there are certain chemicals which this titanium dioxide itself is releasing, and it is going to be harmful in the longer run. So that studies has also to be done. Then what are the key insights from the global implementation of this titanium dioxide? The first implementation is that it has decreased the levels of nitrogen dioxide by 20 to 40%. Secondly, it is very effective in the sunlight rich environment. Third is it is most effective when applied on a large surface area. So the surface area requirement will be there. And lastly, it is cost effective and durable when it was evaluated. Now, based upon the discussion, you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. And let's move to the next topic. The next topic is supercomputers. Now, what is the backdrop? The backdrop is that an article has come in the Hindu newspaper which is trying to differentiate between the supercomputers and the normal computers or the personal computers that we are using. Now, the topic is relevant from GS paper 3, awareness in the field of IT, space, computers. Now, let's see what are supercomputers. So, supercomputers are extremely powerful machines that are designed to solve large complex problems, large calculations, which the normal computers cannot do. Whereas our laptops that we use on daily basis or the computers that we are using on daily basis, they can handle only small amount of calculations. Now, supercomputers किस type की calculation को handle करेगा? The calculations like formation of universe, the calculations like the nuclear reactions that are happening, the change that is going to happen, the calculations like what can happen in the market, the calculations like the monsoonal activity, the climate change. So the calculations which are very complex, multiple things are working there. In those calculations, we need supercomputers because these calculations cannot be handled by simple computers that we're using at home or in the offices. Now, how we are making these supercomputers, how these supercomputers are working? Every computer has two parts. One is the hardware, another one is the software. Now, how this supercomputer is being arranged? First of all, instead of building a machine which is itself very much powerful, what we have done is that we have assembled a large number of computers and we have connected them at one point. It becomes a supercomputer. This is known as parallel computing. So, thousands of millions of processors work simultaneously on same part of the problem, on small part of the problem. So, supercomputer कैसे work करेगा? There is a problem, there is a complex problem. This complex problem are having multiple smaller problems. So, a supercomputer will be having multiple processors and each processor is going to handle a small problem. And एक साथ they are going to work upon it, and after solving those problems, the solution will be combined and the final solution will be given as the output. So that's how a supercomputer is working. Now let's see the hardware and the software part. Hardware is having first of all processor, then it is having nodes, then it is having high speed network, and lastly memory and storage. So these are the four elements in the hardware part. So first of all processors. So basically there are two kinds of processors. One is CPU and one is GPU. CPU is the central processing unit. GPU is the graphics processing unit. Graphics processing unit is basically used in the video games, but in the supercomputers it is very useful. Why? Because to solve the complex or repetitive mathematical operations, these GPUs are very instrumental. The CPUs, they handle the general task. So both these things, CPU and GPU, are the parts of the supercomputers. The next is nodes. Nodes means that they are a group of processors along with the memory. So when a group, it is something like this. This is a node. In this node, there will be multiple processors and there will be memory also. So a node is going to have multiple processors and they are going to have its own memory. And these nodes are interconnected through high-speed network. So there will be another node. It will again be having multiple processors and also will be having memory. So in these nodes, the actual calculation work is going on for a supercomputer. Next is memory and storage. Each node has its own memory for quick access. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि the memory is different. In this node itself, there will be a processor and there will be memory. So दोनों चीजें होंगी, उससे the speed is also going to increase. The memory can be up to the level of 1 petabytes. Do you know what is 1 petabyte? 1 petabyte is 1000 terabytes, or you can say 1 lakh gigabytes or 10 lakh gigabytes. 1 million gigabytes or 10 lakh gigabytes. The power consumption is very huge. For running a supercomputer, you need a power supply that is equivalent for one small town. जितनी एक छोटे से शहर को चलाने के लिए बिजली चाहिए, electricity चाहिए, that amount of electricity is required to run a supercomputer. That's why the heating will be very high, and that's why we need a good cooling arrangement for running a supercomputer. Next is the software and programming part. One is the hardware part that we have already seen. It is having processors, it is having nodes, it is having memory, and it is having high speed network. Second part is the software and programming, because what has happened is that we have assigned the work to various nodes and processors. Now after they have finished their work, this whole work has to be compiled at one point. Secondly, the allocation of the work to each node, that has also to be done. So for that we need software and programming. So supercomputer software is going to schedule the task, it is going to manage the memory, and it is going to coordinate the processor communication. Then parallel programming languages are required here, because multiple processors are working simultaneously, parallelly work कर रहे हैं वो. तो उसके लिए there is MPI or message passing interface. Another language is OpenMP. So two basic languages are used for processor programming. Then the load balancing aspect has also to be there, because there can be some processes which are very light or which are less time consuming, and there can be processes which are more time consuming. So there has to be allocation of these work in such a manner that the load is being balanced. There should not be like that कि एक processor का काम तो finish हो गया and another processor is still working upon. So load has to be distributed in a manner so that it is balanced and the whole process is getting finished at the same time. Next is the supercomputer performance. How do we measure it? This is the question which can come in prelims. So we measure the performance of a supercomputer in the terms of P flops or F flops. It is floating points operation per second. So that is the measure of the performance of a supercomputer. The laptops are only having billions of flops, whereas a supercomputer has exaflops. Exaflops का क्या मतलब है? Exaflop means 10 raised to power 18 bits per second, or you can say operations per second. So in a second, the exaflop supercomputer can perform 10 raised to power 18 operations. The other terminologies include the gigaflops, the teraflops, the petaflops. And next is the exaflops. Now if we see the supercomputers of the world, the important supercomputers include, the first one is El Capitan, that is a supercomputer of USA, and its capacity is 1.742 exaflops. Then Frontier again of USA, Aurora of USA again, then Jupiter of Germany, that is having a capacity of 1 exaflop. Then again USA Eagle 561.2 petaflops. So majorly in the top 4 supercomputers are from US side. If we talk about the supercomputer program in India, India also wanted to have a supercomputer, and India tried to procure it from the Western world, that is Europe and USA, but they denied this, and that's why India developed its own supercomputing program. It was developed under the CDAC, or Center for Development of Advanced Computing. India decided that we are not going to be dependent upon others to develop our supercomputers, because supercomputers will be required for everything, for the space programs, for our season monitoring, for our monsoon monitoring, and for our forecasting. Everything, at every point we need these supercomputers. So for that the CDEC was established. The role of CDEC was to develop indigenous supercomputing infrastructure to meet the nation's computational needs. It was established in 1988 under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Now, the CDEC developed the first supercomputer known as Param series. It was developed in 1991. That was India's first supercomputer, and its name was Param 8000. Then in 2015, we have now came up with the National Supercomputing Mission. In this mission, it is being jointly implemented by Department of Science and Technology and MITI, that is Ministry of Electronics and IT, and is being implemented by CDEC and IISc Bangalore. The goal is to a network of 70 high performance computing facilities all over the country, having a performance up to teraflops. The focus will be on indigenous hardware and software. This is the objective of the National Supercomputing Program. Now, if we talk about the important supercomputers of the country today, the first one is Airavat. It is having a capacity of 13.17 petaflops. It is housed at CDEC and it is used for artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analysis. The next is ARCA, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. It is in Pune. So climate modeling and weather forecasting के लिए we are using it. Then Arunika, again weather forecasting and climate के लिए we are using it. It is housed in Noida at the National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting. Then Pratyush is there. It is at the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology and having a capacity of 4.1 teraflops. It is again used for weather forecasting and climate modeling. And you might have observed that India's forecasting of weather has actually improved a lot. Now we are able to precisely predict that when the rains are going to occur, what will be the humidity levels, all these things we are able to predict. So that is due to the reason that we are having these supercomputers. Then we have Mihir, then Param series supercomputers are there. The next is the application of supercomputers in India. If we talk about the application includes weather and monsoon modeling. Then we have climate modeling, Indian Ocean and Himalayan studies, molecular dynamics, drug discovery, nanotechnology, pharmaceuticals में इसका use है. Then stimulating black holes, gravitational waves, galactic structures, AI model training and defense scenario simulations. For all these things we are using the supercomputers. Now next is, what is the future scope of supercomputing? So in future we are talking about the quantum computers, which will be based upon quantum mechanics. China is building up, US is also building up, and India is also working upon this quantum computers. Then exascale computing, USA has already built it up. Now India is also trying to build up this exascale computing. Then neuromorphic computing, in which the processor and memory will be on the single chip, and it is inspired by the human neurons or human brain. So these are the futures of the supercomputing. Now based upon this, you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. The fourth topic is low inflation, its impact. Now relevance is from the GS paper 3, that is Indian economy issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. Now what is the backdrop here? The backdrop is that consistently we are seeing the retail and wholesale inflation has been low. So here we are going to see that it is good for the consumer that the inflation is low, but how it is going to affect the government, how it is going to affect the revenues of the government and the fiscal targets it has set for itself. Let's see that in this particular article. Now for the information part, the CPI and the WPI for August month was 2.07% and 0.52%. Now let's see the impact. Now whenever the inflation is low, it is directly going to affect the nominal GDP, because GDP is of two types. One is the real GDP, second is the nominal GDP. The real GDP is inflation adjusted GDP. That means the जो inflation को हटा के हम GDP बोलेंगे वो होगा हमारा real GDP. Nominal GDP क्या है? जो normal GDP में जो calculate करते हैं, that is inflation is added in that GDP. So if the inflation is low, then the real GDP and the nominal GDP will be very, very close. Now how it is going to affect it? First of all, the GDP figures जो आएंगे वो हमारे low दिखेंगे, वो कम दिखेंगे. Second thing, the government revenues, that government is getting will also be low. For example, if 10 rupees is the cost of one pen and a 5% tax is being imposed upon a pen, so we are getting 50 paisa on 10 rupees, the tax that we are paying or the revenue that the government is getting. Now if the cost of this 10 rupees pen increases to rupees 20, the revenue also increases, that is rupee 1. So that means if the inflation is there, the government is going to get more taxes. But now inflation is less, the government taxes are going to be reduced. Second thing, GST, already we have brought the 2.0 reforms. Already there is a forecasting that 48,000 crore rupees less revenue government will be getting this year after these reforms, or annually there will be reduction of 48,000 crores. So first of all, there is already a reform due to which there is going to be dip in the tax collection. Secondly, the inflation is very, very low. That's why the government revenues has also declined. Third thing, whenever we are calculating the fiscal targets, how do we calculate that? We calculate the fiscal targets like this: debt to GDP. Or when we are calculating percentage fiscal deficit, how we calculate that? Percentage fiscal deficit is fiscal deficit divided by GDP. So if this GDP is actually nominal GDP. If the nominal GDP is less, that means this percentage is going to be high. If this percentage is going to be high, then we are overshooting our fiscal deficit targets. What is the fiscal deficit target for the government? You have to tell me. Debt to GDP. We have set a target of 60%. If this GDP becomes low, the debt is always high, then this debt to GDP ratio will overshoot the 60% ratio. So that is another problem. So एक तो government is losing its revenue. The second issue is that the fiscal targets of government are also being overshoot, and this overshoot of the targets is going to result in decreasing the credibility of the government. The loan that the government will be getting will be now more costly. So again, it is putting a more burden on the government. So it is a spiral that the government gets into it. Inflation is low. It leads to GDP being low, the nominal GDP being low. It results in less revenues with the government, and also it results in the fiscal targets being overshoot. Both of these things led to government borrowing, more government borrowing, and the borrowings will be costly. So ये सारा इफेक्ट होगा इन्फ्लेशन के लो होने से. तो गवर्नमेंट के लिए द लो इन्फ्लेशन इज नॉट वेरी बेनिफिशियल. दैट्स व्हाई इन एन इकोनॉमी वी नीड अ गुड रेट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन. It should not be very high, it should not be very low. That's why the Monetary Policy Committee has set a target of 4% of CPI inflation. Now next thing is, if we see the nominal GDP and budget assumptions, this year itself, so it says that nominal GDP often misses the budget estimations. The base effect of 2024-25 GDP revised to 331 lakh crores, and there was only 8% of the growth. The economists like Morgan Stanley expect a full year nominal GDP growth of 8.3%, and that is well below the budgeted 10.1%. So already our GDP is not able to achieve the target that we set, and ऊपर से low inflation is going to affect it in negative manner. The next is the low inflation. What are the concerns? The concern is that if the inflation is low because there is oversupply of the goods. What do you mean by oversupply? The supply demand dynamics is there. If the supply is more, then the prices are going to lessen up. तो inflation कम रहेगी. तो अगर supply ज़्यादा है, that means the demand is being fulfilled. Therefore, due to that reason, if the inflation is low, it is fine. But if the inflation is low due to other reasons or due to weak demand, then that becomes a problem. तो inflation low होने के दो तरीके हो सकते हैं, या तो supply ज़्यादा हो या डिमांड ही कम हो. सो द डिमांड शुड बी द कांस्टेंट, सप्लाई मे बी ओवर सप्लाई और सप्लाई मे बी मोर. इफ दैट काइंड ऑफ लो इन्फ्लेशन इज देयर, दैट इज गुड फॉर अस because the manufacturers, the producers are earning in that manner. If the demand is low, the manufacturers or the producers are not able to earn. That means there will be less number of jobs in the economy. Because अब जब demand ही नहीं है तो produce क्यों करें? जब produce नहीं करना तो who is going to pay the wages to the laborers? So that's why we need oversupply, not the weak demand. Now, if we see, RBI study has pointed out that the corporate sales have risen from 5.5 to 5.5%. There has been net profit surge of 7 to 28%. But the problem is that this profit growth is not getting converted into capex growth. That means there is no capital expenditure or capital growth or capital expenditure in the economy in spite of having more profits. So that is a problem for us. If the capital expenditure is not there, that means new capacity is not being added in our economy. So that is the point of concern for us when we are having this low inflation. Now next is what is the impact of low inflation on various areas. For example, for the government and public finances, if we talk about, low nominal GDP will be there. Then it will result in difficulty in meeting the fiscal targets. It will reduce the scope for public spending and investment by the government, because एक तो revenue कम है, ऊपर से the fiscal targets have been overshoot, जिसकी वजह से credit rating is going to decline. When the credit rating is declining, then the interest rate on which the government gets loan, it increases, and it leads to reduced spending and investment in the economy by the government. Then the pressure of debt to GDP ratio, if the nominal will increase, if the nominal GDP lags the expectations, yani if nominal GDP lags behind, then there are going to be pressure on the debt to GDP ratio, and it may result in delay in the fiscal consolidation. Next thing is implication for the consumers and households. So for the households, the positive impact is that they have their purchasing power will increase. The essential goods and services will become affordable. The potential negative is that if it is due to weak demand, then it may signal job insecurity. तो अगर weak demand हुई तो job insecurity होगी. हाँ, अगर oversupply की वजह से, if oversupply is the cause for low inflation, then it is good for the consumers also. The next is implication for enterprises and businesses. So first of all, the profitability will be impacted. The cost of input, if it remains low, then there the profit margins are going to increase. Prices may stagnate. Revenue growth could be limited for product selling companies. Then investment or capex. The firms may delay expansion because they feel कि अभी the economy is not growing. R&D and hiring will also be freezed because the demand is weak. So you should be clear about this thing. If inflation is due to weak demand, then it is bad. If inflation is if low inflation is due to oversupply, that means the demand is being catered to and the supply has increased. If that kind of inflation is there, then it is good for us. Then corporate planning, stable prices can reduce uncertainty in long-term contracts. Weak price growth may affect sectors dependent on high market markups. Then implications on the fiscal market and the monetary policy. The interest rate may remain low to stimulate the spending and investment. Investors may seek alternative assets if the returns are subdued on fixed income instruments. Then low inflation may reduce currency depreciation pressure, supporting the financial stability, and central bank may have less room for nominal interest rate adjustment to stimulate the growth. Then for the implications for economy and macroeconomic sentiment. Economic growth, low inflation is going to suppress the nominal GDP growth, and this suppression is going to affect the perception regarding the economy. The economy grow ही नहीं कर रही है. Consumer sentiment initially positive होंगे for the cheaper goods, but prolonged weak inflation may result in weak demand and economic slowdown. Then business sentiment, prolonged low inflation may reduce the confidence in investors and hiring, and the investment will be affected. The job creation will also be affected. It may be negative also. The risk of deflation if too low inflation persists with stagnant demand and can lead to downward spiral of the reduced spending, lower profits and layoffs. Then sector specific impact. The sector specific impact includes commodity and agriculture sector. Prices may remain depressed, hurting farmers and producers. Real estate and construction. If low inflation is there, low price appreciation will be there. That is affecting the investment in the real sector, retaility sector or real estate sector. Then financial sector, low inflation may support low interest loans, but affect the government's net interest margins. So these are going to be the impacts of the low inflation on an economy. Now it's your turn. Attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. And let's move to the fifth topic. The fifth topic is uranium mining. Now why we are studying it? Because in Meghalaya, government has said that it is going to go ahead with the uranium mining. Now there is a protest by the Khasi tribe groups and other tribal groups in the Meghalaya against this mining. So we are going to study that. The context is very simple: protest against uranium mining in the Meghalaya, and this topic is relevant from ecological point of view as well as from the geography point of view in the GS paper 1, the distribution of key natural resources. So here we are going to see in India wherever is the uranium is found in India. Secondly, we are also going to see what are the problems with the mining sector in the country, what are the challenges the mining sector is facing and the issues it is creating. So let's see the news. The news is that the center intends to mine uranium from Meghalaya despite local opposition. Khasi groups have resisted the exploitation of the Domaisiat and Wakji areas, which are rich in uranium since 1980s. Now the local leaders are also against it. सॉरी मैं दोबारा करना पड़ेगा. क्या नाम है इसका? दोमियासीत एंड वाकाजी. The fifth topic is uranium mining. Now what is the context here? The context is that there is a protest against the government's move to mine uranium in Meghalaya. So the context is protest against uranium mining in Meghalaya. This topic becomes relevant first of all from the point of view of key natural resources, where they are found, its distribution. Then from the ecological point of view also this topic becomes important. The Forest Right Acts also comes into picture. So from all perspectives this particular topic becomes important. Basically here we are discussing about mining, and we are also going to see the uranium deposits that are found in the country. So first of all, let's see the news. The news is that uranium mining in Meghalaya center is now thinking to start mining in Meghalaya, and this particular move has been resisted by the local tribes like Khasi tribe since the 1980s. There are two areas, Domiasat and Wakji, which are having good amount of uranium resources in Meghalaya, and government is intended to exploit or explore these areas because uranium is important from two perspectives: the energy security as well as our nation's security. So it is a strategic mineral. So in this context, the government has said the office memorandum has been given. This office memorandum has said that anything that is atomic, critical or strategic minerals, they will be exempted from the public consultation. So now with this office memorandum, the public consultation regarding exploitation or exploration of the uranium resources will be taken off. The OM will bypass the procedural safeguards and reduce the local communities to bystanders. Currently, Uranium Corporation of India Limited is mining uranium in the Singhbhum area of the Jharkhand, and there also the protests are there with respect to radiation risk and other livelihood loss risk. Now, if we see in India, the uranium is found in particularly these regions. The first region we are having is Meghalaya. This is the region. The Domiasat and Wakji area are there. Then Jharkhand, where we are mining it, Jadugoda mines are there in Jharkhand. Now, it is in the Singhbhum region and it has been operated by Uranium Corporation of India Limited. Now, other areas include Rajasthan in the Mount Abu region. Here, the uranium deposits have been found. Then in Madhya Pradesh, in this region, the uranium deposits have been found. In Chhattisgarh also, the uranium deposits have been located. Then Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, the uranium deposits. Then Arunachal Pradesh, some kind of deposits have been found. And lastly, in the Chhattisgarh, the deposits have been found. So basically, these are the regions in which uranium deposits have been located. The next is, what are the challenges to the mining sector in the nation? With the context of uranium, you can add that it is radioactive, so it affects the radioactivity affects the local population as well as the wildlife there. Now, in the context of mining sector, the normal points that we can use, how it affects or what are the challenges of the mining sector in the country. The first one is the environmental challenges, second is the health and safety challenges, then social challenges and government and regulatory challenges. Now discuss the first one is environmental challenges. Whenever we are mining, we are leading to deforestation and habitat loss. So there's a biodiversity loss that is happening here. So the first challenge is the environmental challenge. There is deforestation, there is habitat loss. Then land degradation, soil erosion is also there, because when we are exploiting these, when we are exploring these minerals, we are digging up the earth, and due to that, land degradation is happening. When rain comes, the soil erosion also happens. The soil erosion also happens because of the water and the wind, because the soil has now been loosened up. Then there is pollution also. For example, water pollution is there, air pollution is there. The water bodies, the groundwater, the ponds, the rivers are being polluted or contaminated by the minerals that are found in that region or the chemicals used in that process of mining. All these things ultimately lead to biodiversity loss. The second issue is the health and safety related. For example, occupational hazards. The people who are working there are constantly exposed to small dust particles, which can lead to lung diseases, which can lead to diseases like asbestosis. So there's an occupational hazard that is linked there. Then community risk, health risks are also there, because when we are exploiting these regions, when we are digging up these regions, then the wind is being polluted by the dust particles, and that affects the community health, those people who are living in that particular region. Then there are long-term impact also. In short term, the impacts may not be visible, but when a person is living for a longer period of time in these regions, then long-term health impacts are there. So these are the health and safety challenges that are related with the mining. Also, due to illegal mining or the flaunting of the norms of the mining norms that are proposed by the government, there are certain accidents that happen. So these problems are also there. There are safety concerns also related to the mining in the country. Then social challenges. Social challenges include whenever an area has been demarcated for mining, then there is displacement of the people. It leads to loss of livelihood. Also, it affects the cultural and heritage of that particular area, because tribes are having their own culture and heritage. When they have to move to another area, that culture and heritage is also lost. Then there is lack of consent also, because many times it is seen that the forest department or the mining department pushes through it without taking the consultation of the public. There is lack of transparency also. All these regions lead to discontent, and it can lead to problems of internal security. The Naxalism that we have seen, it is mainly in those regions which are affected by mining, or mining activities are going on in these regions. So there is a term known as the resource curse. All these problems are leading to resource curse, and this resource curse is leading to the problems of internal security like Naxalism or Maoism in the country. The next challenge is the governance and regulatory challenges. Many a times the transparency is not very much valued. The mining contracts are given in an opaque manner. All the norms are not being followed. So this is related to this is leading to transparency issues. Next is the corruption and bureaucratic red tapeism. Due to corruption, nepotism is there, favoritism is there, and it leads to the mining projects being given to those who are having nexus with the politicians and the bureaucrats. And both these things leads to illegal mining, where the safety norms are being flaunted, where the capacity building is also not there, and it leads to ecological loss, revenue loss to the government, and there are mining incidents also, because the proper safety measures are not being taken. So all these things are connected. Lastly, the challenge that we face in the mining sector is with respect to the critical mining minerals like uranium, thorium, rare earth metal. These are important from the strategic point of view. These are important from the safety point of view, but they are having very high negative impact on the environment as well as on the people living there. For example, radioactive elements like uranium and thorium, they affect the whole area of that particular region. Then border mining risks are also there. Whenever we are mining along the international borders, then there can be some geopolitical concerns also. So these are the problems with respect to mining sector in the country. Now with this we conclude for the day, and this is the question that you can attempt based upon the discussion that we had. Thank you very much.